and welcome Fish here with another BMS video. In this video we're going to look in depth at Maverick boresighting and handoff. Now we've done these videos before, but every time I come back to Mavericks and handoff and slewing and aligning sensors, I learn something new. So a couple of additional nuggets that I'm going to include in this video. So we're in the desert where we have reasonable visibility on objects in the distance that we can use to boresight. First off, I'm going to switch on our weapons and allow them to cool down, because it takes about 3 minutes to do that. So from the SMS page, OSB 8, and we'll power on the Mavericks under air to ground mode. And I'm going to hack my clock by ICP 6 and the rocker switch up. And we can see our clock is going to start counting down. Going to put our master arm into simulate mode. Okay, so there's two additional things we're going to do apart from three additional things we're going to do apart from just following through the boresighting and attacking the targets. And they are, the first one is going to understand how, if you leave after boresighting, if you leave the targets, or if you leave the Maverick sensors locked onto the targets, they don't actually slave to the TGP unless they break lock. Now, if for instance you're running into a target and you use the target area to boresight and then you moved on to another target, or if for instance you have been locked onto a target and you decide you change target with the TGP, you have to realize that you have to unlock the Maverick sensor to allow it to slew again to the TGP. This is very important, because if you run into a target and you find that you've locked onto a target, and your new target is a little bit away, you might find that your sensor won't slew until you break lock. So it's always a good idea to break lock, and by using the vis mode rather than the pre-assigned target mode, particularly when you're in visible range from the target area, you can actually see that the sensors, the Maverick sensors, are aligned, and they actually come in, they actually align themselves with the HUD sensor, with the HUD sensor. And you can cycle through them to see and make sure your targets are looking, your sensors from the Mavericks are looking in the same place as your TGP or as your HUD sensor is. And then it's easy to swap over to the TGP and you get the slaving happens automatically from that. So we've got 2 minutes counted down now. I'm going to configure our aircraft. Switching on our TGP on the right MFCD, and I'm going to bring over the HSD to our left side. We're going to clean up that page. And we can see our target area. We've actually passed by where our target area, which is steer 5. So we're going to head out here towards the north, and we're going to find a target that we can boresight with. We have a nice target over there in the distance. I'm going to change my HUD color. There's better clarity using that blue in the desert. So I'm going to come on to this. We can see that we have objects there in front of us, further out. Well, I'm hoping they are. Actually, there they are there. So around 020 in the bearing. So we're going to bring our sensor into vis mode, and you can see the sensors move there. And I'm going to slow down our speed so we ingress slowly. I'm going to slew onto that, and we can see it's in the TGP now, so it's DMS down to change to SOI into TGP, TMS up to ground stabilize, and let's find a target which has got some kind of distinguishing features. It's not too small, and we can lock into it. Okay, so that looks good enough, that radar dome there. So I'm going to lock into that, and now you can see our Mavericks have cooled down. And I'm going to SOI to Maverick page, slew, make sure I'm zoomed in, and TMS up, and OSB 20 to boresight until the highlight goes out. Missile step switch to change stations, slew again, need to go into EXP mode, TMS up again, OSP 20, and we're boresighted. And now we're going to pause. And we can see that both our Mavericks have been locked onto that target. Now, imagine that we see a target of opportunity, and now we want to, after boresighting, we want to slew onto a different target with our TGP, and we want to fire at it. And you'll see when I unpause it, and I'll change the TGP sensor. You'll see what happens on the left-hand side. So I'm going to unpause now. We're going to zoom out, and let's say we pick a different building there. You can see, we can see the right-hand station continues to be locked onto our previous target, which is no good. And if I unpause again and change station, we can see both stations are locked onto the wrong target. So it's really important after boresighting to make sure the Maverick page is the center of interest, and TMS down to unlock and just slew away from the target, because the Mavericks will automatically lock onto something that are close to. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then I'm going to TMS up again to slew the Maverick page into the TGP location, or to slave them back to the TGP, because at the moment they're not slaved to the TGP, they're actually locked on a target. So let's do that now. So TMS down, change station, TMS down, and slew. Now back to center of interest on the other page, and we're going to lock on something out here. Lock on this little building here. And now you see what's happened on the left hand side. And if I slew again, I need to TMS up again to bring the second one in. That's important, that you TMS up for each station in order to ensure that all the sensors are aligned. So with that in mind, we're going to lock onto a couple of targets that are here in front of us, and we're going to go back into Viz mode, bring our HUD sensor, and you can see what happened there. You can see both of our sensors have locked in to be the same, looking at the same location as our TGP. And the reason that happened is because once we passed over the target, those two targets that target that both sensors were locked onto, both Mavericks were locked onto, went out of the gimbal range and freed the Mavericks. Now, by and large, if you've done boresighting a long way away from the target, that will happen, and so that's why you don't notice this. But you did see it takes a little bit of time, depending on where the Mavericks were looking. It takes a little bit of time for them to come back into the center. So we're going to do this again now up here. So we're going to pick two separate targets this time, and we're going to lock each Maverick to one each. So I picked that one, and you can see our first one is on that first target. I'm going to missile step to change the stations, and TMS down to unlock that, and then we're going to move into the next one. And now we've got a lock on that. Now if I swap stations by missile step switch, you can see we're locked onto both. And because we have a handoff here, we have the C up for each, I can now pick at any point in time, put those targets in my HUD and pickle to both targets at the same time. So remember what we need to do, because we're not locking onto those targets, we're not focusing on that target. I need to SOI to the Mavericks, TMS down to slew away, change station, TMS down to slew away. And now let's turn away, and what we're going to do is, you can see the sensors, they're back over our left shoulder there. You won't necessarily see them here with the head-mounted display. It doesn't show up where the Mavericks are pointing, but the HUD does. So let's see what happens now when we put we reset our Viz mode, and we can see the sensors. You saw them just coming into view there, and that's essentially those sensors are aligning with the hood now. And now we move the hood around, you'll see the left station is moving around, aligning with the TGP, and if I change station you can see the right, so they're both looking at the same thing. So let's head back towards the target area, and we need to go into pre-assign mode, and we need to change to steer 4, and let's head towards our target. So now what we're going to do is we're going to try and pick out 2 high value targets. The Shiklas in a battalion of tanks that we're going to attack, and what we're going to do is we're going to try and take out, going to try and hand off both of those outside weapons range, and then we're going to try and pickle at them both on a single pass. So we need to CZ our cursor. We're steer 5. And we're a little bit far away to get any view. We're 42 miles, so I'm going to close in to the target area, and I'll come back when we're close. Okay, we're now 20 miles from the target area, and we're in master arm mode is switched on, and we're ready to lock some target. The first thing we're going to do is we've got to find it. So we're going to find these 2 Shiklas. So I'm going to SOI to TGP, and make sure I'm set up at the right hand side of the column, and we're going to trawl through them. We're just going to keep the speed slow so we don't ingress too quickly, and we're going to trawl through these targets. I've done this before, so I know roughly where they are, but I'm just going to show as we go through how we can eliminate these targets as not being the high value targets we're looking for. So we can see they're all tanks. Keep an eye on the hood, make sure our aircraft is not going to crash. Tanks again. Building, some vehicles there, not sure, maybe tanks face on. More buildings, vehicles, maybe more tanks, hard to say. If definitely tanks. More buildings, more tanks. Okay, and there's the high value targets we're looking for. So we're now set on the right hand station, and we're going to lock onto the right hand target. So we're zoomed in fully, we're going to TMS up, try and get a lock on that target, just climb a little bit. Okay, we don't have a handoff, we're at 11 miles, everything is set, master arm is on. So we're going to TMS up again to try and lock that, and now we've got a handoff. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap station, and I'm going to TMS down, okay, because it's the second station is locked onto the same target. So I'm going to TMS up again, and remember what I said we have to do. We have to unlock this before we lock in again. So I've unlocked the Maverick, TMS up again, and now we have both stations locked, and if I cycle through them we should see both of them are locked. So now we can pickle. We are 5 miles. Pickle, and don't release your finger too quickly off the pickle button to move on to the next one, or otherwise you'll get a hung store. So I'm going to just come off target a little bit. We have something is lighting us up there, but we may get a reasonable BDA on that strike. Let's just keep our speed down. There's 1 strike, 2 strikes. That's definitely 2 strikes there, so we're good. Well, looks like 1 is maybe still up, I'm not sure. They looked like they were 2 good strikes. Anyway, Okay, so we're going to come off target and go back around, and we're going to do that again. No, one of them is actually up. And I think the problem that's happening here is that if we try and put two Mavericks on separate targets, they're so close that the Maverick changes its track and ends up tracking one target. And I don't know whether it's after or before the explosion that happened. So we're going to run in again, and this time we're going to hand off two separate targets, but we're going to put a bit of distance between the two of them. Now, not too much that they're too far away from the hood, so we need to keep both in the hood. So we're just going to push away from the target area a little bit. With 11 miles, so good enough to come back in. Climb a little bit as we come back in. And just check the status of their Maverick pages. And we can actually go into Biz mode and just check that both Mavericks are aligned with the hood sensor, which they are. That's okay, so we're going to slew and now make TGP sensor of interest, and we're going to pick two targets that have a distance between them, so they look okay. So we're on the right station, so I'm going to take the right hand side target there, zoomed in fully, slew, TMS up, and swap station. That's no good. I'm going to TMS up again. I didn't get the handoff there. It's a funny one. Okay, so TMS up, and we have a handoff on the right hand station. So we're going to switch over to the left station. TMS down. Take the left one. TMS up. So we've got two stations handed off now, and we're in too far. Pickle, rifle, and let's come off. That took us more time than it should have. We wouldn't do that if you were doing it live, but it was just doing that for the purpose of the video, and they look like two good strikes. So we're going to continue south here, and we're going to come around from the other side, and we're going to do a final pass and hand off two additional targets with our two remaining Mavericks. Let's get a bit of distance here. 6 miles. Okay. I'm sure we got enough. Let's come back in again and climb a little bit more. And let's once again cycle us into Biz mode. And make sure both of our Maverick stations are aligned with our hood sensor. And we're going to take two more targets this time. We're going to do the same as last time. We're going to separate them by a little bit. Okay, there's a high value target there still painting us. I'm not sure what it is. Okay, so let's zoom in. And let's pick out something there. Okay, we're going to pick out one of these. Looks like a tank. Something who's got a lock on us. 8. Okay. 1 away. 2 away. And 1's off. And Winchester. And let's do a quick BDA on these as they arrive at the target. 2 strikes. So, takeaway from that is that don't try and hand off two targets which are very close to one another, as they're likely to conflict with each other, and you may end up with both Mavericks striking a single target. So I think we got 5 good strikes out of that. Okay, there we go. 5 hits out of 6. So I hope you found this video useful and interesting, and as usual, feel free to like, dislike, comment and subscribe. And until the next time, this is Fish out.